I think we have one more contestant left, and that's Shades at Night, who did X-Men: The
It
Last
introduces
Stand.
beloved X-Men characters that fans had wanted to see for years. The special effects are fantastic, the action when used is exciting, most of the acting is great, and it continues much like the previous two films to ask important social questions about discrimination and bigotry. That being said, it's still heartbreaking for me to watch. It's as if the filmmakers took the few bad things from the Bryan Singer films and turned it up many notches. It puts more undeserving spotlight on Wolverine. The Brotherhood goes from 3 random henchmen with little screen time to hundreds. Cyclops is so shafted that he gets killed. One bad love triangle becomes 2 bad love triangles. And don't get me started on Storm.
And go to Vince.
What we've seen about or what we've seen from Shades at Night, we know that he makes a lot of good points. We know that he is well organized, he's well thought out, and he's well spoken. I think Cap said last time that he should do voiceover work for something. He has a wonderful voice, and he is a very thoughtful type of guy. And he really gets in deep as to why this movie has a lot of problems with it. Now, I think that he starts to forget that there are good points to the movie. I mean, he'll call back to some of the good points, but he'll just tell us that they are good. I'd like to hear some details about what makes them good. He's giving us a snippet of what of what he would do with a full review. I
Mm.
think that Shades at Night could probably talk about this movie for, I don't know, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. I have no idea, but I think that there is a lot of ground that he left uncovered that he wants to cover. And he just up and mentions certain things because he didn't want us to think that he hadn't thought of it. Leaving certain things out of a review wouldn't necessarily make it a bad review. In an 8-minute video for something that, I mean, calling back to Red Letter Media, that guy has a 4-hour review, longer than the movie. I think there are things that you can focus on. Now, that being said, I think Shades at Night had a solid review. I look forward to seeing it more of what he does.
This was a very entertaining review, actually. It's one of the few reviews I actually watched the second time just for the heck of it, actually. I also like the choice. I mean, I guess X-Men 3 could have been probably one of the obvious choices, but I think the way he goes about it, and I think that's probably what I like about the challenge, actually, is to set aside all the passionate fanboy hate and actually dig into the film and, see, what's really good about it. And
Yeah.
I, and I think he shoots right to the heart of it. I think what is there in this film, and I think he does do this, I think what is there in this film is potentially a great ending for the X-Men trilogy. It's just, it's so poorly put together.
Especially considering what story they chose.
Yes, yes. I think he does a lot of kind of the points I've been thinking, actually, when I watch the film. And I also do enjoy, actually, the editing, I think, is pretty good. I think maybe second best to maybe Fusion, actually, as far as
Really?
as far as the the screen caps he uses. I think it works well together. I think it's a really well done review. I think it's almost professional level.
I guess I'm gonna be a little harder on this one than you guys.
Sure.
For Shades at Night, I was a little bit disappointed with this, and part of it was just because of the choice itself. Like Vince said, he's got a lot more to say about this, and I didn't love the fact that he approached it so much as an X-Men fan. That's okay, but I felt very much like this was, the review of X3 from a huge diehard X-Men fan, as opposed to here's why it's not a good movie and here are the good things about the movie. It seemed like it was more, this is why it's not a good X-Men movie. I don't know if that's necessarily bad. It seems like it was directed toward an audience as opposed to being for anyone who had seen the film. I don't know. That was an issue I have with it. He had he had tons and tons of great points. It was decently organized. Although, like I said earlier about another video, I did feel like I would have preferred, and again maybe this is just personal preference, I would have preferred him to go like point by point as far as a film goes, as opposed to as far as it being an X-Men movie. So I mean, he starts with the Storm thing, and that seemed like a really specific point. He's like, first of all, I don't like the fact that Storm is going to replace Cyclops. and that sort of thing. Whereas I think it would have been a little bit better if he'd gone, here's what's wrong with the story, here's what's wrong with the characterization, et cetera, as far as why it's a bad film. Having said all that, if the point was this is why it's a bad X-Men film, he's spot on, and he makes tons of really great points. My favorite thing he said was that it took the few problems with the Bryan Singer movies and they made a movie out of it. I really liked what he had to say about the love triangle. I really appreciated what he had to say. I just wasn't sure about the angle. Was my only thing this time.
I am actually going to have to disagree a little bit. What I thought was really impressive about this review was that I know for a fact he's a really big X-Men fan, and I thought that knowing that this choice made sense, but he was able to approach it in a very open way. Like it didn't feel like it was just an X-Men fan complaining about, oh well, Psylocke doesn't get enough screen time. It really felt like he has genuine reason to dislike this movie, but he went into more than that. The only time I feel like he deviated,
he did, sure,
because I know Cyclops is like his all-time favorite character ever,
yeah,
and it dwells on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I was really impressed that he was able to give such a kind of a focused review without going into all of the fan complaints. And I do agree, it does feel somewhat like it could be an abridged review, like he could have a full, much bigger review for this. But I thought as a review, I thought it was really, really good. And I was really impressed he was able to stay so on point.
See, I'm really conflicted, Eric, because it's a really good review. But let me ask you a question. Would you have appreciated as much of what he had to say if you weren't a fan of the X-Men?
Well, I'm not really a fan of the X-Men, but
if you didn't know much about X-Men, you know what I mean?
Like, if
all you had seen were the 3 movies, would this have worked?
I have no idea. It's actually,
I wasn't sure about.
It kind of goes back to, I want to say it was Confused Matthew's review of Star Wars, where he brought up, like, I don't know what a Sith is, and I was like, oh, that's right, they're never explained. I can't approach this from someone who hasn't read X-Men comics and knows somewhat about their continuity.
That's all I was skeptical about. Yeah, I'm just not sure.
I would have said it was my favorite of all the reviews. I think having now listened to a couple of you guys say some of the stuff that you found fault with, I could probably say that going in and watching it and not being an X-Men fan, you might not have noticed and you might not have picked up on that whole thing with Storm. I mean, Halle Berry's not a great actress, but would I have said, there's no way Storm could have taken up the mantle of the X-Men leader if I wasn't an X-Men fan? But then again, I mean, if I'm watching the Sonic Unleashed review, I might not have known Sonic either, and I think still both reviews worked really, really well. It didn't seem to me like he was really bashing anything about the movie or the fact that he was such a big X-Men fan that, Cyclops dying was such a big thing. But certainly from a character in a movie who was already in the first 2 movies, even if I wasn't an X-Men fan, I probably would have said, well, gee, you didn't spend a lot of time on that character in the first movie. In the second one, you got the shaft too, and now in the third one, you kill him off in the first 20 minutes. So I guess there are certain...
And to be fair, Professor actually ticked them off too, and he brought that up. So, I
actually liked his point that their deaths were actually oddly distracting. They were meant to be shocking, but they were just more like almost confusing or irritating.
I was going to say, I had a really tough time getting back into the movie and having invested interest once Professor X was gone. I mean, it's kind of like, a Batman movie and you kill off Alfred and then you're just supposed to say, okay, but there is still another 45 minutes of movie.
Well, and compare that to what they did with Dark Knight after you thought for a minute that Gordon was dead.
That's true. That is true.
Exactly. That's what
it's really interesting.
Well, especially considering that Scott dies off camera. I mean, I've been trained as a moviegoer. When someone dies off camera early in the film and they're a lead, we're going to see him again.
Back.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. Did anybody else have anything else to say about Shades? I was maybe a little bit too hard on it. I'm not sure.
But, I mean, Shades of Night seemed much clearer on Mike, and I would say if I was to make any critique about Tory Gunner 1, I would try to maybe see if he could find a better way to do his voiceovers where it's not as jarring, I would say.
All right, well, now we're going to go on to the top banana for the week, and let's go ahead. Vince, tell us who you think is the top pick of the week.
Laser Dude 99.
Manos, what's your top pick for the week?
I had a little trouble. There was a lot of strong stuff. I was thinking either Shades, Laser Dude, or Fusion, but I'm going to probably go with Fusion again.
It is between several for me. I'm going to go with Laser Dude because he's so well improved and made it just a rockin' video. And I do feel the need after voting him to say that I think there were several that were right on par with each other, and that's a really tough choice. Go ahead, Eric.
I actually was kind of choosing between the same three Manos was. I thought Fusion was really good. I thought Laser Dude was really good, and he had that he improved so much from last time. And I really like Shades. I'm gonna go with Shades for almost no reason I can really back up. I really dug that video, and I thought he made a lot of really good points.
Did you just roll a dice? Is that what happened?
No. I did not roll a die. We're not there yet.
All right.
Next week, maybe.
Review spot. Who is your top pick for the week?
I would have gone down to maybe Laser Dude 99 or Shades at Night. I mean, the real problem is, do you pick somebody who has had a vast improvement versus last week, or do you pick somebody who has been consistent so far with both challenges?
That's a really good point.
I think from a professional and how well executed his video was, I'm going to go with Shades at Night, just because I watched his video. I was very relaxed. I enjoyed watching it, and I just watched it again before we started judging this, and I enjoyed it just as much the second time as I did the first.
Okay, and so that means that this week we have a tie between Shades at Night and Laser Dude 99. So congratulations to you two. You were both the top bananas for the week. And now we unfortunately have to vote someone off. And let's once again start with Vince. Vince, who is your unfortunate choice for voting off this week?
I said everything I need to say earlier about the guy, so I'm just going to say his name. The G-Man of EAP.
All right, Manos?
The G-Man of EAP. Yeah, I'm sorry, G-Man.
Yeah, I hate to do it too. I'm tied to. I'm going to vote G-Man of VAP, and I think he's got a lot of potential, a lot of places to go. But I just need to see some more professionalism out of him. And G-Man, I will be watching you to see what happens in your future endeavors. Eric?
I'm also gonna have to go with the G-Man of VAP.
And review spot.
I'm going to go along with you guys as well, and just say him. It's just a shame that if he knew the material and he had laid out what he wanted to say, it would have. I think he has great potential, but just not a good review, unfortunately.
Okay. G-Man of EAP, sorry to see you go. And now we are down to 6 reviewers, and here comes the challenge for next week. The 18th, this will be due, and the challenge is review something, anything you want to, movie, action figure, TV show, whatever, that came out at least 10 years before you were born.
Ooh, good one.
And this challenge is all about historical perspective. We want to see if you can review something once again objectively and fairly, without too much of your current perceptions. Can you go back and look at something the way it was meant to be and review it? So something that came out 10 years before you were born.
At least.
Anybody have any
It
questions?
doesn't have to be exactly 10 years.
No, at least 10 years. It can be well before that or just 10 years. And remember, this is based on your own age. 10 years before you were born, not before Manos was born.
But then everyone would just do the Great Train Robbery and
And thanks once again for listening to Who Reviews the Reviewers. We sure appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate all the reviewers. And this is the judges signing off. These are the judges signing off. English major. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Vince.
I'm the real Manos.
I'm Eric.
I'm that 5th guy, Spot.
Thanks a lot for listening. We'll see you next time.